Number 10. The dopamine trap. Picture this. You're scrolling on your phone telling yourself you'll stop in 5 minutes. 45 minutes later, you're still there. Thumb-aching brain, buzzing, and you feel both guilty and oddly restless. That's not just weak willpower, it's brain chemistry staging a coup. Every addictive substance or behavior, from nicotine to TikTok, hijacks the same system: dopamine release. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, as pop science loves to call it. It's the do-that-again chemical. It's about learning and reinforcement, not happiness. Cocaine doesn't just make people euphoric, it rewires the brain to scream more and more. Social media. Same trick. Each like or notification is a microdose of dopamine. Your brain doesn't care that it's digital, it just knows it got a hit. Here's the kicker. Your brain learns faster from pleasure than from pain. Scientists call it the negativity bias, but in addiction, it's flipped. A hit of dopamine creates a blazing neon memory trace that felt good, do it again. Meanwhile, the memory of hangovers, withdrawal, or shame, those fade into fuzzy background noise. That's why people can chain smoke while coughing up blood. Now combine this with what neuroscientists call downregulation. The more you flood your brain with dopamine, the less sensitive your receptors become. Suddenly, ordinary life feels gray and tasteless. Coffee doesn't wake you up. Food doesn't comfort you. Relationships feel flat. Only the addiction lights you up, even if only briefly. That's the trap. You're not even chasing joy anymore. You're running from emptiness. This is why addiction feels impossible to escape. Your brain isn't broken, it's rewired into a survival machine for the wrong target. And unlike lions hunting gazelles, your prey is everywhere in your pocket, on every street corner, in every store aisle. Number 9. The illusion of control. Here's a weird quirk of human psychology. Gamblers often believe they can will the dice into rolling a 6. Smokers say, "I'll quit after this pack." Alcoholics claim, "I only drink socially." Everyone thinks they're steering the ship, when in reality the storm is driving them. Psychologists call this the illusion of control, and it's one of the most sinister allies of addiction. The brain, desperate to maintain a sense of agency, invents rationalizations that keep the behavior alive. You don't think I'm powerless over nicotine. You think I'll stop when I want. Just not today. In 1975, a famous study by psychologist Ellen Langer showed that people will bet more money if they get to throw the dice themselves compared to when someone else does it for them. Same random outcome, but the feeling of control boosts confidence. Addicts operate on this principle constantly. The cigarette feels safer if you light it. The slot machine feels winnable if you pull the lever hard enough. Even rehab can feed the illusion. Many people relapse because they think, "I've beaten it. I can handle one drink." But addiction doesn't negotiate. The first sip isn't just one, it's the start of a script your brain already memorized. Once dopamine pathways are carved deep, they don't vanish. They lie dormant, waiting for the right trigger. That's why so many recoveries are shattered by just one taste. The illusion of control whispers that you're the exception. Reality proves otherwise. Number 8. The shadow of withdrawal. Imagine your body rebelling against you like a hostage taker demanding ransom. That's withdrawal. For heroin, it's bone-deep pain, shaking, vomiting, and insomnia that makes you hallucinate. For alcohol, it can trigger seizures and delirium tremens, hallucinations so vivid that people see insects crawling on their skin. Even caffeine withdrawal causes headaches, irritability, and brain fog. Here's the horror: withdrawal doesn't just punish you when you quit, it teaches you to never quit again. Neuroscientists call this negative reinforcement. Your brain learns to avoid suffering at all costs. If smoking stops the pain, if drinking halts the shakes, if gaming erases the anxiety, you don't need willpower to relapse. Your body shoves you back in line. And withdrawal can linger, not just for days, but months. It's called pause post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Even years after quitting, ex-addicts can feel sudden waves of depression fatigue or cravings that seem to come out of nowhere. Imagine surviving a hurricane only to live in constant fear that another storm could hit any day. This is why addiction recovery isn't a one-time event. It's not like curing a fever. It's an ongoing battle with a shadow that never quite leaves. And for many, the fear of that shadow is scarier than the addiction itself. Better the devil you know than the endless night of withdrawal. Number 7. The addiction memory. Close your eyes and picture this. You walk past a bar and suddenly you smell beer. Instantly your brain lights up with memories. Laughter, clinking glasses, the sharp fizz of carbonation. You weren't thirsty a second ago. Now you're craving so badly it hurts. That's not nostalgia, it's addiction memory. The human brain is terrifyingly efficient at storing cues. Pavlov's dogs drooled when they heard a bell because the bell meant food. Addicts drool sometimes literally when exposed to their triggers. These triggers can be anything: a smell, a song, a friend, even a time of day. Studies using brain scans show that an addict's reward circuitry lights up from cues before they even use. The craving comes first. The behavior follows. This is why people relapse after years of sobriety. Addiction doesn't just live in the substance, it lives in the environment woven into everyday life. A soldier returning from war might find heroin cravings vanish when leaving the battlefield, only to return full force back home. A smoker can avoid cigarettes for a decade, but relapse after one stressful event paired with the smell of tobacco. Think of the brain as a haunted house. Every hallway looks familiar until you open a door and bam, there's a ghost from your past reminding you of what you lost. You don't have to believe in the supernatural to see how chilling this is. Addiction memories aren't erased. They're lying in wait, ambushing you when you least expect it. This means recovery isn't just about quitting the substance. It's about rewiring your life-changing habits, people, places, routines. Because if you keep walking down the same haunted corridors, the ghosts will find you. Number 6. Addiction by design. Here's the part that should make you furious. Not all addictions are accidents. Many are engineered. Cigarette companies added ammonia to increase nicotine absorption. Food scientists at major corporations perfected the bliss point, the precise mix of sugar, salt, and fat that makes you unable to stop eating chips or ice cream. Social media apps hire behavioral psychologists to design variable reward schedules. That's a fancy way of saying they use the same principles as slot machines. You scroll, you refresh, you pull down the feed. Sometimes you get a dopamine jackpot, sometimes you don't. That unpredictability makes your brain obsessively check again and again. It's not a glitch. It's the business model. Addiction keeps you spending money, spending time, and giving away your attention. The world's most profitable companies thrive because you can't stop consuming what they sell. Here's the twisted irony: when we say, "I can quit anytime I want," we're ignoring the fact that someone else spent millions of dollars ensuring we can't. The design of the system is to keep us hooked. Even rehab centers sometimes exploit this by revolving clients through cycles of relapse and treatment. Addiction is profitable not just for drug cartels, but for corporations wearing suits and ties. So when people say addiction is a personal failure, they're missing half the story. Yes, personal choices matter. But when billion-dollar industries weaponize neuroscience against your willpower, it's not just weakness. It's war, and most of us are losing without even realizing we're fighting. Number 5. The double life of shame. You'd think shame would help people quit. After all, who wants to feel like a failure, hiding empty bottles, or lying about how many hours they've spent gaming? But shame doesn't kill addiction. It feeds it. Shame is isolating. It pushes people into secrecy, away from support systems. A person addicted to painkillers doesn't confess their struggle. They swallow another pill to numb the guilt. A gambler doesn't tell their family about the money lost they place, another bet hoping to win it back and erase the evidence. This cycle is brutal addiction, creates shame. Shame fuels more addiction, and round it goes. Neuroscience shows that shame activates the same stress pathways as physical pain. And stress, ironically, is one of the strongest triggers for relapse. That's why addiction thrives in silence. People think they're punishing themselves into quitting, but in reality they're reinforcing the very behavior they hate. Here's a grim fact in Alcoholics. Anonymous, one of the most effective tools, isn't the 12 steps themselves, it's the group. Simply telling your story out loud, breaking the silence, dismantles the fortress of shame. It doesn't cure the cravings, but it cuts through the isolation that keeps people trapped. Think of shame like quicksand. The harder you struggle alone, the deeper you sink. The only way out is for someone else to throw you a rope. Number 4. The brain's hijacked priorities. Imagine your brain as a boardroom. Normally, different departments, survival relationships, work-pleasure debate, and vote on what matters most. Now, picture addiction barging in like a hostile CEO, firing everyone and saying, "From now on, everything serves me." This isn't metaphor. It's neurobiology. Addiction hijacks the brain's survival circuitry. Food, sex, and social bonds used to be the top priorities. But once drugs, alcohol, or compulsive behaviors take over, the brain reclassifies them as necessary for survival. That's why addicts will spend rent money on substances, skip meals, or betray loved ones. They're not choosing selfishness. Their brains have rewritten the hierarchy of needs. Neuroscientists have found that in people with severe addiction, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive that manages logic and long-term planning, goes offline. Meanwhile, the amygdala fear and stress center and striatum reward-seeking engine go into overdrive. The result, short-term survival instincts that scream louder than reason. Here's a chilling example. Lab rats given access to cocaine will keep pressing the lever for a hit, even when it means ignoring food and water. Some starve to death with their paw still resting on the button. Humans aren't so different, we just have more excuses to disguise the same obsession. This is why just stop doesn't work. You're not negotiating with a bad habit, you're trying to dethrone a tyrant who's convinced your very survival depends on its rule. Number 3. The myth of hitting rock bottom. You've probably heard the phrase, "they won't change until they hit rock bottom." It's repeated so often, it feels like common sense. But here's the disturbing truth: waiting for rock bottom can be deadly. Not everyone survives the fall. For heroin users, rock bottom could mean an overdose. For alcoholics, it could mean a fatal car crash. For gamblers, it might be suicide after financial ruin. Addiction doesn't politely wait until the lowest point before offering change, it often kills on the way down. Research shows that interventions and support before the bottom are far more effective. Early recognition harm, reduction therapy, and community support can save lives long before the abyss swallows someone whole. Yet society loves the myth of rock bottom because it shifts responsibility away. We tell ourselves, they just aren't ready yet, instead of admitting we're watching someone drown without throwing a rope. And here's the cruel twist: addiction often convinces people their bottom is further away than it really is. I still have my job. At least I'm not homeless. At least I'm not shooting up. But the line keeps moving until one day there's no line left. The idea of rock bottom is comforting for bystanders, but catastrophic for those trapped. Addiction doesn't need you to crash into the earth to end. It needs someone to build a ladder before you fall. Number 2. The betrayal of the brain. Imagine your best friend secretly plotting against you. They know all your weaknesses, every craving, every fear. That's addiction, your own brain betraying you with perfect precision. The ventral tegmental area, VTA and nucleus, encompass 2 regions. Central to reward are supposed to motivate survival. Eat food, feel good. Bond with friends, feel good. Learn something new, feel good. But addiction rewires this machinery so the only thing that feels good or even feels like relief is the addiction itself. Even worse, the brain learns to anticipate the high. Studies show dopamine spikes not when the drug hits, but when the person merely expects it. Seeing the liquor store smelling cigarette smoke, hearing the clink of ice in a glass, these are all betrayal signals. Your brain tells you relief is coming, joy is near. But when the real hit arrives, the dopamine doesn't even match the expectation. That gap, the disappointment, drives you to chase harder, hoping next time the reward will match the promise. Spoiler, it never does. It's like being in a toxic relationship where your partner keeps promising happiness but delivers pain. You know you're being lied to, but your brain keeps whispering, maybe this time will be different. Addiction isn't just chemical enslavement, it's emotional manipulation from inside your own skull. Number 1. The endless loop. Picture a hamster wheel. At first the hamster runs because it's fun. Then it runs because it's habit. Eventually it runs because stopping feels impossible. That's addiction, not a straight line with an ending, but a loop that feeds itself endlessly. The cycle is brutally simple: craving, using relief, shame, craving again. Each stage reinforces the next. Relief teaches your brain the substance works. Shame convinces you to hide it. Hiding it creates stress, and stress triggers cravings. Around and around it goes until the person trapped inside can't tell where the cycle began or where it ends. Scientists call this the feedback loop of addiction. It's why people relapse even after years of sobriety. The loop isn't gone, it's waiting. Some call it the beast, others the voice, but it's always there whispering, "One more won't hurt." And here's the scariest truth: the loop never really disappears. You can weaken it, starve it, drown it in new habits and healthier rewards, but once carved into the brain, the pathways remain. Recovery doesn't mean killing the loop. It means learning to live with it, to recognize its tricks, to outsmart it when it starts spinning again. This is why addiction feels impossible to escape. Not because people are weak, not because they lack discipline, but because they're running inside a loop designed by biology, reinforced by industry, and haunted by memory. The terrifying part, most of us are already in smaller loops: our phones, our caffeine, our shopping habits. Addiction isn't a distant monster. It's a mirror showing us the scary truth: none of us are completely free. That's it for today. I'll be doing similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.